The waiting room was quiet. Only the gentle sound of a clock ticking on the wall could be heard. Anna sat near the corner, her hands resting stiffly on her handbag. She was 22, shy by nature, and easily unsettled in new places. Her dress was simple, light pink, with small creases from how tightly she held her hands together. Coming to the gynecologist had not been easy for her. For weeks, she had delayed the appointment, convincing herself it was nothing serious. But the discomfort she felt in her body had grown stronger, and at last she had no choice but to seek help. Her eyes did not wander much. She kept them fixed on the floor, too nervous to notice the fresh flowers on the reception desk or the soft paintings hung carefully on the walls. Every so often, she shifted in her seat, adjusting her posture, trying to appear calm. But inside, her heart was beating quickly, each sound echoing in her ears. It was not just the fear of being examined that troubled her. It was the fear of being judged. Anna had always been quiet, reserved, and often misunderstood. Speaking about her body, about her private worries, felt impossibly difficult. Still, she had come. And that choice, small as it seemed, would soon change her life in ways she could never have imagined. The door at the far end of the waiting room opened. A nurse stepped out, holding a file. She looked around, then called gently, "Anna Williams?" Anna rose slowly, her legs trembling as she walked forward, unaware that the path ahead was about to lead her into a story she would never forget. The nurse led Anna into the doctor's office, and the door closed softly behind her. The room smelled, faintly of lavender, clean yet comforting. A large window opened to the sky, letting sunlight spill across the desk where papers and a stethoscope lay neatly arranged. Behind the desk sat a man. He was younger than Anna expected, no older than his early 30s. His hair was dark, neatly combed, and his face carried a calm strength. His white coat gave him an air of authority, but there was something gentle in the way he smiled at her. "Please, take a seat," he said softly. Anna lowered her head and sat down, her fingers twisting together nervously in her lap. She could feel her cheeks warming. She had imagined an older doctor, someone distant, someone she could speak to without feeling so self-conscious. But this man, this young doctor with steady eyes, made her heart beat even faster. "I'm Dr. Adrian Hale," he introduced himself, his voice calm and reassuring. "You must be Anna." She nodded quickly, unable to meet his gaze for more than a second. For a moment, silence filled the room. Dr. Hale leaned forward, resting his hands gently on the desk. "Don't worry," he said kindly, sensing her fear. "You're safe here. Just tell me what brings you today, in your own words." Anna's throat tightened. Speaking about such private matters felt impossible. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, her voice lost. Still, Dr. Hale did not rush her. He waited patiently, his calm presence giving her a strange sense of comfort. And, though she didn't know it yet, this gentle patience would soon become something far more important in her life. Anna sat quietly, her heart racing as she tried to find the right words. Her fingers pressed against the fabric of her dress, twisting it slightly, as though the folds of cloth could carry her nervousness away. She wanted to explain everything, the discomfort, the worries that had haunted her nights. But the words stuck in her throat like a heavy knot. Dr. Hale moved his chair closer, not in a hurried way, not in a way that would alarm her, but gently, as though he understood how delicate the moment was. He sat at her level, no desk between them now, and smiled softly. "It's okay, Anna," he said, his tone calm and steady. "You don't have to rush. Take your time. We'll go slowly." His voice carried no pressure, no impatience. It was the kind of voice that could calm a storm, even one raging inside her. Finally, Anna lifted her gaze. For the first time, Her eyes met his fully, and she saw kindness there. Not judgment, not cold professionalism, but kindness, real and unshaken. Her lips parted, and at last, the words began to flow, halting at first, broken into pieces, but slowly finding shape. She told him about the pain, about her fears, about how embarrassed she felt even sitting here. Dr. Hale listened, not interrupting, not rushing to fill the silence, but truly listening, as though her words mattered deeply. When she finished, her shoulders felt lighter. She had expected shame, but instead she found understanding. Dr. Hale gave a small nod. "You did well," he said gently. "And now, we'll take good care of you." In that moment, something subtle but powerful shifted inside Anna's heart. The room was quiet except for the soft scratch of Dr. Hale's pen on the clipboard. Anna sat at the edge of the examination bed, her back straight, her hands folded neatly, in her lap. She still felt nervous, but not as much as before. Something about the way the doctor spoke, the way he listened, had lifted a weight from her. Dr. Hale looked up, setting the clipboard aside. "Anna," he said gently, "you've done very well explaining your concerns. I want you to know, you're not alone in this. What you're experiencing is more common than you think, and we can manage it." Anna lowered her eyes, her cheeks warm. Relief touched her heart, though she struggled to voice it. She only gave a small nod, grateful that her fears hadn't been dismissed. The doctor's tone softened even more. "You remind me," he said, almost as if speaking to himself, "that sometimes courage doesn't mean being fearless. Sometimes, it's just showing up." Anna blinked, surprised by his words. She looked up at him, and for the first time, her lips curved in the faintest smile. Dr. Hale returned the smile, though his was fuller, carrying warmth that filled the space between them. In that brief moment, the distance of formality seemed to shrink. Still, he remained professional, guiding her gently through the next steps of her examination. But Anna could not ignore the quiet truth forming inside her. This man was different. He was not just a doctor. He was someone whose presence eased her fears and lit a small, unfamiliar glow within her heart. She did not know yet that his life outside this clinic carried a secret, one that would change how she saw him entirely. The appointment had ended, gently. Anna felt lighter as she walked out of the clinic, the evening sun painting the sky with shades of gold and rose. The cool air brushed against her cheeks, calming the warmth that had lingered all day. For the first time in weeks, her steps did not feel heavy. She clutched her handbag close, pausing just outside the door to breathe in the quiet air of the evening. Then, something caught her eye. Across the street, a sleek black car waited. Not the kind of car one usually saw parked near the clinic. It was polished, elegant, and unmistakably expensive. A man in a dark suit stood beside it, his posture respectful, as though waiting for someone important. Anna's brows furrowed. She turned slightly, just in time to see Dr. Hale step out of the building behind her. He no longer wore his white coat. Instead, his light blue shirt fit neatly across his shoulders, the setting sun catching a faint glow in his dark hair. The man by the car immediately straightened, stepping forward to open the back door for him. Anna froze, her heart skipping. For a moment, she could hardly believe what she saw. Doctors earned well, yes, but this was something more. Dr. Hale offered a polite nod to the driver, then glanced across the street. His eyes met Anna's. For a brief second, she thought she saw something flicker in his expression. Not surprise, but quiet acceptance, as though he knew the questions now rising in her heart. She lowered her gaze quickly, unsure what to think. The shy girl who had come seeking help had just glimpsed a truth far greater than she imagined. Her doctor was not only kind and patient, he was also a man of hidden wealth and stature. The next time Anna saw Dr. Hale was not in the clinic. It had been a week since her appointment, and though her health concerns were being managed, her thoughts kept returning to that surprising evening, the elegant car, the driver, the quiet confidence in Adrian's steps as he left the clinic. When she came for her follow-up, Dr. Hale suggested something unexpected. "You seem tense, Anna," he said softly. "Would you mind if we continued our talk somewhere less formal? Just for tea?" Anna hesitated. The shy part of her wanted to refuse, but something in his tone, gentle, reassuring, made her nod. Now, in the cafe, she sat across from him, the warmth of the tea calming her hands. Adrian spoke easily, asking about her studies, her daily life, her family. He did not speak like a doctor evaluating a patient. He spoke like someone truly interested in knowing her. At first, Anna gave short answers, but gradually her words lengthened. She found herself telling him things she rarely shared with others, how she often felt invisible, how silence was easier than speaking, how she feared people would never understand her. Adrian listened, his gaze steady, his expression filled with quiet understanding. Then, without pride or flourish, he mentioned something that made Anna pause. "When I was younger," he said, "I lost my parents. I inherited much from them, more than I ever expected. Money, properties, responsibilities. But all of it felt empty until I found a way to use it meaningfully. Medicine gave me that purpose." Anna's hand stilled on her teacup. So it was true. He wasn't just a doctor. He was a man who carried a life of wealth, yet chose to sit here with her, speaking not of riches, but of understanding and care. And in that moment, the shy girl felt a quiet warmth bloom in her heart. The days that followed left Anna in quiet turmoil. Every time she thought of Adrian, she remembered the luxury car, the respectful driver, the calm way he had spoken of his inheritance. He was kind, yes, patient beyond words, and she trusted him deeply. But he was also someone who belonged to a world far above her own. She lived in a small apartment, wore simple clothes, carried only what she needed. She had always accepted her quiet, ordinary life. Yet now, standing beside a man of such wealth and stature, she felt small, as though she could never belong in his world. One late afternoon, they walked together through the park after another checkup. The sky was painted with soft gold, the air carrying the gentle fragrance of blooming flowers. Adrian spoke of his work, of the patients he hoped to help, of building clinics in areas where people could not afford care. Anna listened quietly. Her notebook pressed close to her chest, but her thoughts wandered inward. "Why me?" she wondered. "Why spend his time with someone like me?" She slowed her steps, her eyes lowering to the stone path. "You don't have to spend time with me outside the clinic," she said softly, almost whispering. "I know you must have people more suitable." Adrian stopped, looking at her with steady eyes. "Anna," he said gently, "do you think I choose people for their status, for what they own? No, I choose them for who they are." His words hung in the air, warm and steady, brushing against the fragile edges of her heart. But Anna still held on to her doubt, unsure whether to believe him fully. For her, learning to trust would take more than words. It would take time and a love deep enough to silence the fears she had carried for so long. Adrian could have taken Anna anywhere. Fine restaurants, elegant hotels, places filled with glitter and shine. But instead he asked her to meet him at a little bookstore tucked away on a quiet street. When Anna arrived, she was surprised. The shop was small, the kind of place she had always loved. Walls lined with old shelves, the air carrying the faint scent of paper and ink. There were no crowds here, no grandeur, only quiet corners and soft yellow lights. "Why here?" she asked softly, brushing her fingers over the spine of a book. Adrian smiled, setting a few books into the paper bag he carried. "Because I wanted to see you in a place that feels like you," he said gently. "Not my world, yours." Anna's breath caught in her throat. She turned her eyes back to the shelf, afraid he might see the sudden warmth rising in her chest. He walked closer, lowering his voice. "Anna, I could surround myself with wealth every day, but it has never given me peace. When I see you, quiet, thoughtful, real, I find the kind of peace money cannot buy." Her hands tightened around the poetry book she held. His words sank deep into her, breaking through the wall of doubt she had built. For the first time, she dared to meet his gaze fully. His eyes were steady, filled not with pity or distance, but with something gentle, unwavering. In that little bookstore, surrounded by nothing grand, Anna finally began to believe. Adrian's care for her was not bound by his wealth. It was bound by something quieter, something far stronger, genuine affection. And for the shy girl, that realization was the beginning of trust. The evening air was cool, the river moving slowly, under the dimming sky. Anna sat on the wooden bench, her notebook resting quietly in her lap. Beside her, Adrian sat in silence, his gaze turned toward the water as though it carried away his unspoken thoughts. Neither spoke at first, yet the silence was not heavy. It was gentle, filled with the sound of flowing water and the soft rustle of leaves overhead. Anna's heart beat faster with each passing second. She had grown used to his presence, his patience, his calm voice, his steady kindness. Yet tonight felt different. Tonight her chest ached with words she longed to say but feared to release. Adrian shifted slightly, turning toward her. His voice, when it came, was quiet but sure. "Anna," he said, "do you know what I see when I look at you?" She blinked, her breath catching. What do you see?" He leaned forward, his gaze gentle but unshaken. "I see someone braver than she realizes. Someone who carries her fears quietly, yet still steps forward despite them. I see someone who has touched my heart in ways I never expected." Anna's lips parted, but no words came. Her eyes filled with a soft warmth, her throat tight with emotion. Slowly, she let her hand rest on the bench, close to his. For a moment, neither moved. Then Adrian's hand shifted, brushing against hers. The smallest touch, yet it carried. The weight of everything unspoken between them. Anna's voice trembled, but at last she whispered, "I'm afraid. Afraid I'm not enough." Adrian's fingers gently closed over hers, steady and warm. "Anna," he said softly, "you are already more than enough." And in that fragile, luminous moment by the river, the shy girl felt her heart open to love. The morning air was fresh, carrying the faint fragrance of flowers. The garden was quiet, touched by the first light of dawn, its colors soft and new. Anna walked slowly along the path, her shawl wrapped gently around her shoulders, her notebook held loosely in her hand. For the first time in a long while, her steps did not feel heavy. She felt lighter, as though something inside her had finally opened, letting in the warmth she had long kept away. Adrian was waiting for her near the garden's edge. He was dressed simply, without the coat of a doctor or the signs of wealth she once thought defined him. In his hand, he held a small bouquet of wildflowers, gathered not from any grand florist, but from the simple earth around them. When she reached him, he offered the flowers with a quiet smile. "For you," he said softly, "not because they're rare, but because they're real, like you." Anna took the flowers slowly, her fingers brushing against his. Her chest tightened, but not with fear this time, with something deeper, steadier. Her eyes lifted to meet his. "Why me?" she asked again, her voice trembling but gentle. Adrian stepped closer, his gaze unshaken. "Because in a world filled with everything money can buy, I found something it never could. Your heart." Tears welled in her eyes, but she smiled, shy and radiant all at once. For the first time, she did not lower her gaze. The sun rose higher, casting golden light across them. Two lives, once distant, now stood side by side, bound not by wealth or status, but by something simple, tender, and true. Love, quiet, steady, and unshakable, had finally found its way into Anna's shy heart.